Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Shannon here with Back to the Cardboard. And man, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining me. In this video, I want to share with you guys the day of May the 14th when my Cincinnati Reds played the Southsiders from Chicago. What a great place to be on that day, because it was none other than Pete Rose Day. Yes, the Cincinnati Reds honored the hit king, Charlie Hustle, Pete Rose, on that day. And man, the crowd was just crazy. The festivities were off the charts, and Great American Ballpark was just amazing how they had it decked out. I had a great time. I went with 6 of my friends from work, and we had a blast. And not only that, I got to pick up a few small items while I was there. So stay tuned, because I'm going to share some pictures and some stories, and I'll share those items with you coming up next. So the morning of the 14th, myself and 6 of my friends from work, as soon as we got off shift that morning, we started for Cincinnati. And on our way up 75, we had to stop, of course, do a bathroom break, and we stopped at this little place called, I think it's called Hop and Shop, I think is what it's called. But man, they had the coolest bathroom you ever seen in your life. Myself and a couple of guys who was with us, we went in and it was kind of doing our business, and I seen a red button on the wall. I was like, what in the world is that? And there was a sign under it that said, do not push this button. So guess what I did? I went over and pushed the button, and when I did, holy moly, the lights went out. And for a split second, if you're ever using the bathroom and the lights go out, it's like pure fear, like, oh my God. Well, the lights went out, and just for a split second, and then music started playing, lights came on, and it was a disco ball effect. It was the coolest thing ever. Check this out. Sorry, there's no sound because copyright violations and stuff like that. But man, isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? That's the coolest bathroom I've ever been in, to be honest with you. So we headed on up to Cincinnati. We got a motel room, checked in, and then we headed down towards the stadium. We left out, and we wanted to get down there in plenty of time to find parking and stuff like that. We get down there roughly 4 hours early, and it was just pure chaos already at that time. And I've never been to a Reds game that was a sellout, but we talked to several people that was there milling around, and they said that this was crazy, that it was just like opening day. I think opening day they had 45,800 and something people there. This was 45,500, something like that. So they could have crammed 300 more people in there, so I could have been a sellout. I don't know. But anyway, the stadium was adorned with all kinds of Pete Rose stuff. There was a huge banner of Rose hanging on the side of the wall. There was marquees that scrolling across that said 14 forever, and there were people milling around that had Pete Rose, all different kinds of Pete Rose shirts and jerseys on. It was really cool. And then the statue out front, the Pete Rose, the big bronze Pete Rose statue out in front of Great American Ballpark, had roses lined around it, and it was pretty cool. Just the volume of people and everybody outpouring their love for Pete Rose was very, very evident. There was a Camaro, like a brand new Camaro out there that was the Hit King Camaro, and he had signed the engine block on it, and it was just adorned and just different Pete Rose things, the Hit King on the bumper, and the headliners and the seats were all decked out. It was really cool. And the crowd that was there, I'm sure were there to honor Pete Rose, to see a baseball game, but there was also a jersey giveaway. Everyone in attendance got a jersey. Now, when we first got there 4 hours early, small lines were starting to form already, so I just assumed that people thought it was 20,000, first 20,000 through the gates or something like that. No, everybody got a jersey. Now, when you went through the door, you got an extra large jersey, and they had a little kiosk set up that if you needed a smaller size or you needed a larger size, you could go trade your extra large for one of those. So I assume those were kind of limited, and that's what people were doing. Luckily, I'm an extra large guy, so that worked out great for me. Now, what made this really special is on May the 13th, the day before this game, Manfred made a big announcement. He had lifted the ban. Of course, I'm sure you all have heard this. He had lifted the ban on everyone that was banned from baseball, from being eligible for the Hall of Fame, that for whatever reason, he had lifted that ban from everyone that was deceased. And that was 17 players. Rose was one of them. Shoeless Joe Jackson, of course. Eddie Seacott, and the other guys from the Black Sox scandal. Their ban was lifted. I would say Rose, Jackson will find their way on the ballot, which is going to be voted on December of 27 by the Veterans Committee, but it's now the Era Committee. So we'll see how that goes. But that was pretty special. The day before we honored Pete Rose, his ban was lifted. Now, we got inside. The pregame festivities started 2 hours beforehand, so the gates opened up a little before that, I guess, a couple hours. First pitch was at 7:15, so the gates opened at 5:15, and the pregame stuff started a little after that. And Pete Rose's daughter, Fawn, gave the first speech. She was introduced by the MC of the day, which was Marty Brenneman, of course. And she gave a very gracious speech, and it was just very heartwarming and touching. And then Barry Larkin, George Foster, and Eric Davis talked about Rose. And they shared some funny stories. Some of them I've heard, some of them I hadn't. And that was pretty cool that they come out on the field. And that was all set up around the first baseline, around home plate, somewhere around in there. And it was just a beautiful moment, just celebrate Rose and to hear some of those stories from those guys. Now, the first pitch and the game ball was brought out by Pete Rose's grandkids. And the first pitch was thrown out by Pete Rose's grandkids. That was pretty cool. The mound had big number 14 on it, and there was marquees and banners all around the stadium that said 14 forever, and it flashed Pete Rose highlights during in between innings, and there was a scrolling marquee that read his stats and showed all his accomplishments when he was playing. Right before the game, they had a couple of neat things. The Western Hills University High School, which is where Pete Rose went to high school when he lived in Cincinnati. Of course, he was born and raised, grew up in Cincinnati. They sung the national anthem. I thought that was pretty cool. And then right before game time, they had a prayer, a 14-second moment of silence, and they put up a big clock on the marquee on the scoreboard, and it started at 14 and counted down. And that was really cool to see that, and to see everybody come together and honor Pete that way. Now, the game itself was kind of a disappointment, to be honest with you. I was there to watch the game, but more than anything, I was just there to celebrate Pete Rose. But the pitchers for the game was Nick Lodolo for the Reds and Davis Martin for Chicago, the Southsiders. And Lodolo he wasn't on his game. He ended up getting 4 strikeouts, I think. Martin had 6. The Reds just kind of flopped. They left 9 runners in scoring position. Really, basically the only highlight for the Reds was in the 7th inning when Jake Fraley hit a solo home run. Now in the 3rd inning, Reese Hines hit one to the wall, and Luis Robert Jr. basically robbed him of a home run. I mean, it was right there. I believe if he couldn't have got his glove up there, it would have went over the wall. Matt McClain was on first, but Robert caught it. That was that. That was probably the deciding factor that turned the tide for the game towards the Sox, I guess. They ended up winning 4-2, and kind of disappointing, but it is what it is. And that was pretty much it. We got out of there, went back to our motel room and hung out, got up the next morning, went and ate at a really cool German restaurant in actually across the river into Kentucky, over into Covington, and that was fun. That was a good meal. But anyway, let me show you what I got at the game. Nothing crazy, but let me flip the camera around and I'll show you what I picked up. So I picked this up at the field. It's from the Hall of Fame Museum there at Cincinnati. Now, if you've never been to Great American Ballpark, their museum and Hall of Fame that they have upstairs there at the ballpark is just amazing. I would venture to say it's probably one of the best ones in baseball. I've been there a couple times and it is really, really cool. But this is to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Great Eight from 75 and 76. I picked up a statue of Rose himself. And I think these are made to look like bronze, but I think they're just kind of a solid plastic. I thought it was something cool to pick up. It was Pete Rose Day, to kind of commemorate that. I'm not a big fan of the look on his face, but I guess it is what it is. It looks kind of weird, but anyway, that's one of the things I picked up. You could also get the other 7 guys. I think the whole set was like $150 for all 7 statues. So I just wanted Rose. I really didn't care for the other ones, but you can see how the bases are made and they all kind of fit together at the base. So anyway, let me show you what else I picked up. So one of the guys we went up there with had bought him a hat at one of the vendors that sets up out front there, and they were giving away freebies if you bought a hat. So he bought the hat, and I was like, oh, cool. I was kind of scrolling through some of their freebie things they had laying on the table there. He's like, I pick you something out. He said, you can have it. So I kind of went through and picked this out. It's the 86 Cincinnati Reds media guide with Rose on the front. Although that was pretty cool. Got the that year's schedule on the back. And kind of thumb through it. It's got a lot of neat facts and numbers and players, and here Mike Smith, Mario Soto, tells a little bit about them and their career. Rob Murphy, Ron Oyster, from all the players from '86. I assume that's what they gave out to the media. So I picked that up. That was something pretty cool. And then something else. I didn't really get this at the game. I ordered them that evening. But I didn't know they did this, and they do it for every game, every home game anyway. You can order tickets, actually have physical tickets in your hand. And so I got online when I got back to the motel, and I ordered 2 tickets from that day, just to kind of have to say, hey, yep, I was at that game. Here's the tickets from it. Here's what they got. These were $5 a piece, and you would think that Ben's it was a special day for Rose, that it would have a, something that was commemorating Rose or something about Pete Rose Day or something on them. And here's just your basic. You get the what is that for? 15% off fan club, $5 off, $30 at Buffalo Wild Wings, whatever. But I did get those, pick those up just to have to say, yep, I was there, Pete Rose Day. So it is what it is. It's not a red. It doesn't have Pete on it. It has Red's logo there, so that's pretty cool. I almost forgot the best thing about going there. Check it out. My Pete Rose jersey. I don't know if you can see it or not. Slide this back. Rose 14, baby. That was cool to see everybody with their Pete Rose jerseys on at the stadium, all looking identical, basically. But anyway, hey guys, that's all I got. I had fun sharing that with you guys. I hope you hung around to the end to see me model this cool jersey. But anyway, if not, you missed out. That's all I got. Until next time, guys, remember, collect what you love and love what you collect, and don't let anyone persuade you otherwise. Until next time, peace back.